Fist flying, no bounds. Podcast kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, spills, nights get loud. Big EQP, that's how we get down.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back here on a Thursday and ready to go with this preview show for UFC 316. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Part 2, the rematch. Getting back to it, Merab he defended his belt once already, and Sean hasn't fought since, so he's getting his rematch. You know, he had a bit of an injury. He seems pretty locked in. We'll get into the details of all that here in a few minutes. But yeah, we got that coming up this weekend, and second title fight as well on that one with the women, and that will be Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. And that's Kayla Harrison with only a few fights in the UFC, coming in as a former PFL champion, getting ready to fight for that championship belt in the UFC real quick, like after getting in not too long ago. So it's exciting. You know, Juliana Pena has beaten Amanda Nunes before, so that's a hell of a feat. And, you know, she has a lot of other accomplishments, but I mean, I think she's shown that she's beatable. And Kayla Harrison's here to prove that she is. So there's some animosity there, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good one. But you never know, because we know how things go with the UFC, especially lately. So I'm hoping that these are going to be some great fights, but I'm excited for them. UFC 316 in Newark, New Jersey. And yeah, we're going to have a watch party. So we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But before that, you know, on Sunday, I did the recap show going over the atrocious UFC Vegas 107. Yeah, horrible, horrible event. And I mean, there's not much else to say about that except for the fact that it was bad. So if you didn't watch, that's what you missed, was talking about how not great that was. But you know what? It's interesting to listen to what happened, because it was definitely some stuff you don't expect, and not some stuff that happens often in the UFC. So yes, you know, they have fights fall out and stuff like that, but the UFC is pretty quick on their feet, and to be able to, you know, get an event to still go off without a big problem is usually their specialty. But when it happens minutes before the main event, that's a little bit more difficult to overcome. So yeah, you get a main event canceled, and you get a 9-fight card, or 9 fights on a card, which is really unusual to have single digits for the entire fight card for the UFC, at least. So yeah, that was just that was crazy, and definitely something to talk about, and we talked about it. So go check out that episode from earlier this week on Sunday. That's kind of my thing now, just trying to get into doing recap shows closer to when the event happened, you know, and then doing the preview show on Thursdays, because that's right before the big events happen, or the upcoming events happen. So that's kind of the structure for now, and I'm hoping to keep that going. It feels pretty good right now. Like it takes off the stress of some of the prep work, and it feels a little better and it feels a little more up to date. You know, I'm talking about the event that just happened, either the day after or 2 days after at the most, instead of almost a week later when everyone else has already talked about it. And that was just something that I decided to start doing, and I think it's good. So we'll keep that going. So be on the lookout, and watch for those 2 shows a week. Sunday's a little loose. It could be Sunday or Monday, depending on how things are going, because, you know, I got stuff happening on the weekend sometimes. But for the most part, that's my plan, is to try to get that done and make it happen that way. So this weekend coming up after UFC 316, be on the lookout for that recap show happening pretty quickly after that. But we will be having a watch party, and I'll touch on that a little more in a few minutes. So that means these shows are a little shorter too. So if I don't start rambling about something, but I mean, I cover part of the stuff that's happening through, you know, and what happened before last week and stuff in the earlier show, and then whatever's happened since then on this show. So there's not as much to pack in, and I think it's better that way because, you know, I get to about an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, and I'm just like, I don't even know that anybody will listen this far. So we try to keep it right around an hour. That's a little better. Still long form, but and able to get a lot in, but not going so overboard. I feel like it's a little better that way. So we'll keep that going. And yeah, I appreciate the support for everybody that's in here and keeps tuning in and supporting me. I appreciate that for sure. Make sure you tell somebody to go check out the channel, and, you know, if they're into MMA, that's what we talk about here. Including some boxing and stuff too, all combat sports, but, you know, I stick to MMA the most. But you all already know that. So before I go too much further, I want to make sure I give a shout out to my sponsor, Noctane smelling salts. Of course, there's that shake because you got to activate stuff in there and make it as potent as possible. This is the most potent bottle with the red cap. And I feel like I need it right now. I needed just a little uplifter, a little alertness and awareness, and just being a little more sharp. And that's what this is going to do, because it's going to wake me the fuck up. So here we go. I'm going to take a big whiff. My eyes are probably going to water, and then we'll wrap up the sponsor shout out. Hold on. Yep. There it is. Seems harsh, but this is the most potent bottle. There is least potent bottles, and it's worth it. It's worth the shot. Give it a try. Scan that QR code and check out their webpage. And you know, it's informative and it's cool to look at too. So there's also a link in the description. Oh man, my eyes watering. But yeah, it's fun to do as well as very effective. So if you fall asleep at the wheel when you're driving because you start getting heavy eyes, it's good to wake you up with that. Power lifters use it to get that quick adrenaline rush before they do their lift, and other people use it just for alertness and waking up. You know, you're studying or, you know, prepping for a podcast or doing something like that, and you need to wake up a bit. It's a good way to do it. So check out Noctane Smelling Salts. Appreciate the sponsorship as usual, and the continued sponsorship, I should say, because yeah, it's a good product. I use it all the time, so I'm definitely happy to keep shouting them out and giving them, you know, hopefully giving them some support over on their side too. Trent says, hi, can't wait for the fights this weekend. Yes, I know. I'm like, man, I'm hoping that this event's going to be great, because I feel like that buildup is happening. Like, I'm watching this stuff from the last fight, and I'm seeing the, you know, the social media posts and the things about Suga Sean, and, you know, his walkout song is so dope. Like, I've always liked Lupe Fiasco, but that Rockstar song is just on another level for me. It's always been one of those songs that it just brings me back to a time when it was hot, when it just came out, and when I was listening to it all the time. And back when I was listening into music a lot. I mean, I still am, but, you know, not as much because I listen to podcasts all the damn time. But man, that song is just, it's on another level, and I don't even know how to describe it. But Trent loves Suga Sean too, so like that's the other part. You know, it kind of reminds me of Trent too, because I think of her because she loves Suga Sean. So I don't know, it gets me all in that mode where I'm just like, fuck, maybe I hadn't really made up my mind, but I'm like, maybe I want Suga to win. But it's hard. It's hard when you start thinking about everything when it comes to the fight. But we'll definitely get into that here pretty quickly. But we're gonna get into some combat sports news first. But man, every time I think of it, and I'm thinking of the lead up, I just think of his walkouts. His walkouts are dope as it is, but that song, man, that song does it for me. Unlike other, you know, walkouts and shit. So anyway, let's get into some combat sports news. We'll hit that up real quick, and then we'll get into UFC 316 and preview that and all the fights in the prelims and the main card. So let's get going. Let me take a big sip of this real fast. My other fuel. All right, here we go. Combat sports news. And we'll get started. Just touching quickly on the broadcast deal for the UFC, because you know, we still don't really know what's happening with that. the ESPN Plus deal has kind of it's up basically, and yeah, no one really knows. I mean, it's up after this year, I should say, but no one really knows what's happening. There's been some talks about going to Netflix, obviously. Prime Video is definitely interested. You know, we see one championship over on Prime. We've seen some boxing over there. They've had different events and stuff like that. So it'd be different to kind of see the UFC over there, but it wouldn't be bad. But the thing is you know, what's really going to happen with it, right? I mean, I feel like at this point, from everything I've heard, I don't see how they're not going to just sign back with ESPN Plus and keep that going. Now, we all know that that ESPN has had ESPN Plus, the app, and their whole platform kind of has had some issues when it comes to you know, the UFC and buying the pay-per-views and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to figure out, like, what are they gonna do? I guess there's other interests too, as far as other big name like broadcasters out there, but nobody that seems like they're really in it. But when I'm just thinking, I don't see how it's gone this long unless they have something up their sleeve. I don't know how it's not gonna just go back to ESPN Plus. From everything I've heard, you know, throughout people talking about it and all the breakdowns and stuff like that, you know, Netflix was basically being said that Netflix wanted kind of everything. They wanted all of TKO basically. So TKO is like the parent company of all these other lower, you know, companies, which is the UFC, WWE, all that stuff. And you know, they're looking, I guess the UFC was asking for like $1 billion for the rights to all of this, and Netflix is kind of like, yeah, but we want everything. So for that money, for that price, they want everything. And I mean, WWE is kind of already over there, but with the UFC, it's like they were dabbling in possibly just like having fight nights at Netflix or something like that, and still doing the pay-per-view thing, or maybe abolishing the pay-per-view like thing altogether and having, you know, figuring out some way to make it all work on Netflix. But who knows? It's back and forth. But that's kind of a big deal, and that's partly why, you know, my music just stopped. There it is. Okay, that was weird. But that's partly why there's, you know, things are kind of, I'm starting to wonder, you know, the same way with Connor and Chandler. I'm kind of starting to wonder if that's what's happening with the John Jones and Tom Aspinall stuff. Like, maybe they're waiting to get something in writing here and get something settled and be like, okay, now we're gonna have this Tom and, you know, Aspinall versus John Jones fight. But who knows? And of course, Tom and John are still in the news. Everyone's still wondering when that fight's coming. But as far as this goes, we don't know. There's so many rumors and so many narratives about what's what and where things are going and how things are gonna work, that it's all up in the air. But I thought it was something to touch on real quick, because you got to remind yourself that they are in the process of signing a new deal with somebody, but we don't know who yet, and it does affect things when it comes to fight cards, when it comes to fight matchups, and when it comes to how things work. You know, I've been seeing that like ESPN Plus took down like the fight library or the history that they had of the UFC in their, you know, in their platform and stuff like that. So everyone's like, oh, is that because they're definitely going away from ESPN Plus, or is that like a ploy to be like, hey, we just took your shit down, what's next? Are you gonna make your decision? You know, are they using it as something? Who knows what it all means? But there's a lot of people out there that look at things like that and pay attention to those types of things. I'm definitely not one of them. I don't look that deeply into all these things, but I gather my information just from all the things I've heard through different podcasts, articles, rumor stuff, social media, all that. You know, it does interest me because it affects us as fans. You know, we don't know, like, are we gonna have to continue paying constant increases in pay-per-views, or are they gonna get rid of the pay-per-view and we're gonna have to pay for another service, pay a little more for another service that we already have, because the UFC is going to hold everything there, so that brings the value up for them, so they're going to want more money. One way or another, it seems like we always wind up paying more money, and that's what sucks. We're already at $80 per pay-per-view, which you know, when you size that up against a lot of boxing stuff in the past, it was like $100 fights and shit like that. But you know, we started with the pay-per-view. When I started watching, the pay-per-views were like $45 or $50, and then they've gradually come up. And sure, that's a long time, you know, $80 now, but it's like, it seems like recently in the past few years, it just continuously goes up and up and up at a faster pace. So I need to figure out this music, because it just cuts out at the end, and I don't like that. Usually it flows right back in, starts over, and this one is weird. So I'm gonna have to nix this song, I think, next time. But anyway, so yeah, that's a little bit of an update on the broadcast deal. Waiting to see what happens, but I'm betting ESPN Plus still has some of it, if not all of it, and we'll see where they go from there. So let's move on to what I just mentioned. Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, still talks going on as to what the hell's happening here. And I mentioned it last week or last show. I don't even remember at this point, that I'm just fucking tired of it. And I wish they would just fight or at least just give us a damn date. Tell us that, you know, Dana White is just keep saying, oh, it's going to happen. That's what he said multiple times. And then things change. But, one of the last things that Jon Jones had said, because he's a troll and he likes to just keep saying things, and he likes to keep people guessing. I think he finds it funny to be like mysterious and all this other shit. And before, he talked about the fact that he's already told the UFC what his plans are, and he doesn't know why they haven't shared that with us. So go talk to them is basically what he's saying. But now he's like, the UFC, I and Tom, we all got a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. They're one of the biggest organizations in sports, and right now Tom and I have agreed to wait for the UFC to make their announcements. So I legally can't really talk about it. And I feel like that's a way for people to stop asking him or for a way to have people keep guessing and maybe find more intrigue in it and keep asking. But he gives different answers every time. So we'll see what happens. And when we actually get some foolproof stuff to go on when it comes to this fight. But we're coming up on almost a full year now of Tom Aspinall not having fought, and or being the interim champ, and it's just a mess. So Tom countered all of that by saying, I'm the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. John's retired and it's time to move on. So here we go. You know, one side's always doing something, and the other side's doing something else. And Tom was saying this on was it DC and the Bad Guy, and he basically sounded a little bit like he's being sarcastic, especially with the look on his face. I mean, he's not one of those guys that's a real good like actor when it comes to that, but it's what he said. Who knows? Everyone's making a big deal out of it. I think it's just another thing to keep talking about. You know, they keep trolling each other, they keep talking shit in the background, so who knows what the hell's really happening. But if Tom Aspinall's really moving on, and the UFC is allowing that, what's that mean? Because he says he's the undisputed heavyweight champion. Maybe he knows that John's retired and they're waiting to announce that, or he's just saying that because he's like, fuck this shit, I've been the interim champ, he doesn't want to fight, he can't seem to get it together, so I'm the undisputed champ. Let him just, you know, enjoy his retirement and move on, and strip him and call me the undisputed heavyweight champ. Who knows? But if he moves on, is he going to be defending his interim championship and he's going to consider it the undisputed championship? I don't know. That's just what he said. Everyone made a big deal about it. Figured I'd touch on it real quick. Like, yeah, who cares? I mean, we're just so sick of this. I'm sick of this, but I keep talking about it because things keep coming up. So you still have to just wonder, like, what the hell's really happening? And then you just gotta, you think about things, you get frustrated, and I just want to like say something about it. So guess what? I have this show, so I say something about it. Maybe nobody else cares. I don't know. But this is one of the more anticipated fights that haven't been matched up yet. We haven't got a date. We haven't got anything. So when's it gonna happen? How's it gonna happen? Who's really gonna fight? Who's not gonna fight? Is John retired? Is Tom really waiting impatiently at this point, or is he like knows what's happening and he's just getting more hype around the fight. I don't know, but at this point it's kind of just annoying and boring already. So let's stop and let's just get it done. Let's get it done and fucking fight already. That's what I said before, and I'm sticking to it. So Tom and John, this fucking story is just like Connor and Chandler was going on forever. And, you know, at least Connor would come and say some stuff here and there. But I mean, I guess John's doing that too. But it's all annoying and stupid. And we still haven't got that Connor and Chandler fight. And who knows if Connor's ever going to fight again. It's just these seem to be the stories that are happening in the UFC now. Instead of talking about how great someone's been doing, a fantastic run that someone's been on, the reigning champion just continuously defending their belt in you know, exciting ways and stuff like that. Those aren't even the stories in MMA right now. Those aren't even the stories for the UFC right now. The headlines are all about Tom and John and fucking Connor and who else is not fighting. It's like, come on, fuck. So I don't know. I just, you know, it is what it is. So let's move on to something I missed last week, or I missed on Sunday talking about, and I kind of forgot about it because I didn't really see it in real time, but I saw stuff about it after the fact, which is this UFC ref cam. So we've seen that in other organizations, you know, PFL, I believe. I don't know that Bellator was doing it, but I think One Championship was doing it. You know, it's kind of gone in and out. There's been ref cams here and there. I think Pride used to do it. Maybe not Pride, maybe, I don't even know. There's been a few different organizations that have tried it out and done it, but the UFC actually had one in last week's event, one of the worst events, but they did capture some crazy shots, and this is one of them where I forgot who this even was at this point that got choked out. Billy Ray Goff got choked out cold, like to put to sleep, and and he, you know, the ref cam caught this, which is pretty brutal, honestly. It's almost worse than seeing somebody knocked out completely. But yeah, I mean, it was, if you saw the actual happening of the submission at the time, that was crazy enough. And then you see the ref cam, it's like, damn, that's nuts. But I mean, is this something that like people want to see? I feel like it's a good thing to add in and a good change, but some people might not like it. It might turn some people off that already think that the UFC is too brutal and stuff like that. But I feel like in comparison to other organizations that have come out, like Dirty Boxing, DBX2's coming up, and I'm excited to talk about that one in this week coming up after UFC 316 because it's happening next weekend. DBX2, Dirty Boxing. It's Mike Perry's fighting organization that is basically Dirty Boxing, and yeah, that's pretty brutal. I mean, we got the Wolf Rob Perez, who is just he's just so intense, and he gets after it, and man, he's got a brutal knockout in that event, in one of those events, and he's just a relentless fighter. We got Yoel Romero knocking people out. We got Andrei Arlovsky knocking people out. We have a bunch, like 8 former UFC fighters coming up on DBX2 next weekend. So, you know, come back next Thursday to hear more about DBX2 because I'll be talking about it on the preview show for next week. But we got stuff like that. We got bare knuckle boxing, which you cannot watch one of those without seeing blood. So, I mean, I feel like MMA at this point is tame in comparison to some of these other organizations. So the ref cam may just be one of those things that makes people feel like it's a little more real, because maybe they're a little desensitized when they're after watching all these other, you know, fight leagues and stuff. So maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's something we need to kind of, you know, spice it up a little bit. We need, you know, sometimes you got to do a little something different. So maybe this is something that might help with that. But yeah, it was just something to touch on. I don't know if anybody else paid attention to it. I missed it initially during the live broadcast, but then I started seeing things about it after the fact, and I was like, oh, well, this is the bad part about watching stuff while you're on the go, because you can't see everything that's going on and happening, and listen to everything at the time. So, but it's good to know that they're trying stuff like this out. Maybe it'll, bring some more, interest into the UFC and stuff like that. So anyway, moving on, we had an announcement this week. Vasily Lomachenko has retired from boxing, and he's 37 years old. And it just kind of, maybe it's not a surprise to some people. It seems like it's a surprise to other people. But overall perspective, this dude is insane. You can see the belts. He had crazy footwork. He was very fast, and he had some impressive fights for sure throughout his entire career. One of the bigger names in boxing in his weight class. He had a crazy amateur career with a record of like 396-1, winning Olympic gold medals, representing Ukraine. He's done a lot in his career, and just for him to come and just retire, it just seems like a little bit out of the blue. I wasn't hearing a bunch of stuff leading up to this, so it was kind of a surprise to me. It may not have been a surprise to a lot of the big boxing fans out there, but one of the bigger names in the sport, he decides to call it quits and hang up the gloves. So just wanted to touch on that and wish Lomachenko happy retirement, and best wishes and everything else he does. We'll see. We've seen a lot of boxers, MMA fighters, any combat sports fighters, we've seen a lot of retiring and coming back. So you never know, we might see him again in the near future. But as of now, he is, declared retirement and decided to hang it up. So much love to Lomachenko, and he's definitely one of those names that stuck out to me in boxing, even though I haven't, been the biggest fan and watched the sport closely, but definitely one of the names that has stuck out and is one of the more impressive boxers out there. So good luck to him on his future ventures and anything else he does, and appreciate all the good fights that he had for us, that he gave us and that we got to watch. So good luck, Lomachenko. And then just to touch on another event going on this weekend, speaking of BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, we have some bare knuckle boxing going on this weekend. And it's BKFC 75 happening in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I didn't pull up the page, I completely forgot. So but it's David Mundell versus Donald Sanchez in the main event for the middleweight championship there. And then you got Murat Kilomatov versus Leo Bercier in the co-main. And then you have the rest of the fighters on that card. I don't know a lot of these fighters. A lot of times you get, guys that have been in and out of MMA, or other guys that have been in other combat sports, but not a lot of recognizable names for me on this one. But a lot of guys that look pretty intense in these pictures, face tats, and yeah, just a lot of craziness. So you're guaranteed to see some action when it comes to BKFC. We've seen Mike Perry in there, the king of violence when it comes to BKFC. He hasn't fought there in a while, but he's the one I was talking about that started DBX, Dirty Boxing. So he's been wrapped up with that, but I'm sure we'll see him fight again in BKFC. Conor McGregor has stock in BKFC. Basically, he's a part owner. He's like the face of BKFC right now. He's at all of the events, and he's always at the weigh-ins and strutting his stuff around and just being Conor. So you'll always see Conor around there. He's talked about wanting to fight for BKFC at some point in his career. But yeah, we got that event going on let's see, is that Saturday as well? June 6th? No, that's Friday. So that's tomorrow. Tomorrow, BKFC. So check that out if you want to see. Again, it's brutal and it's a lot of action. You're definitely gonna see some blood, because those bare knuckles will definitely cut somebody open. And yeah, it's intense. So go check that out if you are into it and you want to see some crazy action. And that's it for combat sports news. Besides, like I mentioned before, we got the Watch Party podcast happening Saturday night during the main card. As soon as the main card goes live at 7 p.m., we will be live here on this channel for the Going Rounds podcast. So I will have some in-studio guests as usual. We got Mr. Golf and Glory Clark jumping in with me. We got Josh coming in, confirmed this time. He gave me a confirmation he would be here. And so, you know, we're going to be in here having some drinks, you know, doing some smelling salts, and we'll see what other kind of extra stuff we decide to do. But definitely a lot to fight talk, live reactions to all the fights as they happen. So if you're watching the fights, or even if you're not, you can tune in and listen to us talk some shit and have some fun while we talk about the fights and react live to all of them as they happen, so you can get all of the details and be up to date on what's going on during the main card of UFC 316 on Saturday night. So don't forget, I will be posting on social media just to remind everybody. But don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live, which will be 7 p.m. Arizona time. But just know, as soon as that main card is live for UFC 316, we will be live on this channel doing the Watch Party podcast. So don't forget to check it out. And speaking of UFC 316, let's move into the recap of that. Oh, I'm sorry, the preview. What am I talking about? I'm already getting my shows mixed up. UFC 316 happening Saturday, June 7th, June 8th. Why does this say June 8th, Sunday? I must have pulled a damn poster that was for... See, I hate this because when you Google stuff... when you Google stuff, sometimes you get international shit and you don't realize it. And apparently I did that because this one says June 8th, Sunday. So that's okay. It's not a big deal. We know it's Saturday night, and we know that it's happening this Saturday. And let me get to the page here. Yeah, it starts at 7 p.m. for the main card. The prelims, we definitely have more than 9 fights on this entire card. Luckily, as a difference from you know, last weekend's card where we had 9 fights total. But we got early prelims, we got the regular prelim card, and then we have the main card. So a long night of fights. If you're, you know, wanting to watch them all the way through, it starts at 3 p.m. Arizona time for those early prelims. So get ready and be early. But let's take a look at those prelims while we're talking about it. We got some UFC debuts going on, and it seems like from the odds that I was listening to a lot of the odds happening for this card, and it seems like there's a lot of big favorites on this card, including a challenger in a title fight being one of the biggest favorites on the entire card. We'll talk about that one when we get there. But as for now, we have Markel Medeiros versus Mark Choinski to start off the prelims in the lightweight division for the men. So Markel Medeiros is 10-1, and Choinski is 8-0. He is making his debut in the UFC. This will be his first fight, coming over from let's see, what is that? APFC. He's fought in the LFC before. It looks like he's on a pretty damn good, well, yeah, he's 8-0, so he's undefeated coming into the UFC, getting that higher level of opponent. And Markel Medeiros is 2-0 in the UFC. So coming in fighting a guy who's undefeated in the UFC, only has 1 loss on his record overall. But you know, that's kind of a good matchup there with 11 fights as opposed to 8 total. I mean, making his debut, this guy Medeiros only has 2 fights in the UFC, so not a bad way to start off the card. Moving on, we got Quillen Selkild versus Yanal Ashmuz. That'll be another lightweight fight in the men's division. 8-1 for both of these guys as far as their records go. 2-1 for Ashmuz in the UFC. Selkild, we've seen not that long ago, I think. And he is 1-0 in the UFC. I believe his last fight was, yeah, February of this year. He's coming over from the Contender Series as well. So we got that fight next. Next up, another undefeated fighter, Ju Song Yu versus Jekka oh man, this is tough. Seragi, maybe? I'm not sure how to say his name. That's a tough one. But he is 14-4 overall. Yu is 8-0. I believe Yu is making his debut as well. Yes. So your second debut fighter for the UFC. And Jekka, I can't say his last name, it's tough, is 1-2 in the UFC. That'll be happening in the men's flyweight division. And next up, this one I feel like is going to be a damn good fight for the women. First women's fight on the card. It'll be Ariane Lipski versus Kong Wang. As you know, Kong Wang is definitely one of those fighters that's interesting, fun to watch. She's definitely got her own unique style, and we've seen her come out with the Joker paint on her face. She's 2-1 in the UFC, 7-1 overall, and you got Lipski, who is 6-7 in the UFC, 17-10 overall. This will be a fight in the women's flyweight division. Lipski, also known as Da Silva, I'm not sure. I heard something earlier about her possibly going by Da Silva now, not Lipski anymore, but who knows? That's part of her name. The UFC presents her as Ariane Lipski, so we'll keep it at that. So that'll be the women's fight in the prelims. Moving on to the next set of prelims. This one I feel like is definitely gonna be a fun one. We got Chaos Williams. With a name like Chaos Williams, it better be fun to watch. Versus Andreas Gustafsson, who was supposed to fight last week, but had his initial opponent drop out. And then we had his second opponent, his filler, came in and was cutting weight or something, and I guess slipped and fell while he was cutting weight, and bumped his head, got injured, so they canceled his fight. So Andreas Gustafsson was supposed to be the first guy to wear the UFC debut patch, making his debut in the UFC, and he didn't get to walk. He didn't get to fight because Trevin Giles had that the injury during his weight cut. So Gustafsson was hoping to still get on that card. Luckily for him, he winds up on the prelim of a pay-per-view card instead. So we have our third debuting fighter in the UFC fighting in the prelims versus Chaos Williams, and Trevin Giles was a step up in opponent from his initial opponent, and then that fell apart. So now he definitely gets a higher level opponent in Chaos Williams, who's 6-3 in the UFC, 15-4 overall, and just one of those dynamic guys that puts on a show and definitely is definitely fun to watch, and a tough fight, especially for Gustafsson. But people seem to be pretty high on Gustafsson, so we'll see. He looks the part for sure. We'll see how he comes out looking in his UFC debut after a bit of a kind of a second try at it, because the first one failed and it had no fault of his own at all. It was just opponents kept falling out. That was a cursed card, so maybe this is a good thing for him. Next up, we got the heavyweight division, Sergey Spivak versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. This could be a good one or it could be a snoozer, you never know. But Cortez Acosta is 6-1 in the UFC, 13-1 overall. Spivak 8-5 in the UFC, 17-5 overall. We've seen both these guys have some decent fights, and Acosta, we've seen him kind of get some decent wins in the UFC, but Spivak is there with him as well. Acosta's on a 4-fight win streak with wins over Arlovsky, Robelis de Spain, and Ryan Spann in his last 3 fights, as well as Lucas Brzezinski before that. So, he's on a pretty good win streak there with some good opponents in the mix of all of that. And then you got Spivak, who's fought some big names as well. He is coming off a loss to Jelton Almeida, but he had a win over Marcin Tybura before that, lost to Cyril Gane before that, and was on a 3-fight win streak before that, even with wins over Derek Lewis, Augustus Sakai, and Greg Hardy. He's also lost to Tom Aspinall, but again, he's had a lot of big names in his fight record. So win or lose, he's fought some upper level opponents, and Waldo Cortez Acosta is just another one of those, and we'll see how this one turns out. An interesting fight here between Azamat Murzakanov versus Breton Ribeiro in the light heavyweight division. Again, I mean, a lot of these fights are pretty interesting on paper. I feel like they're a damn good matchups on paper as well, including this. And I feel like this entire prelim lineup right here that I'm showing a picture of is definitely good. And you know, you go down to that other set of prelims that I was showing you, and there's some good fights there too, but a lot of debuts on that one, so we're not sure exactly what to expect out of those guys. But with this prelim lineup right here, it's like a lot of names we know, including one who's a debut, but you know, has a lot of hype around him. And yeah, I just feel like these prelims are pretty damn good considering the crap that we've gotten recently. So hopefully it all lives up to the hype and we get some good fights out of it. So Murzakanov versus Breton Ribeiro, I feel like should be one of those good fights for sure. Ribeiro's 2-2 in the UFC, 17-7 overall. Azamat Murzakanov is 4-0 in the UFC and is 14-0 overall, undefeated record. And we'll see if he can keep that undefeated record as he moves into this fight with Breton Ribeiro. He's got wins over Alonzo Menefield, Dustin Jacoby, Devin Clark. So not bad there. Those were his last 3 fights. And then Cortez Acosta has fought some big names, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he also has. Oh, yeah, I just talked about that. What am I talking about? Robelis Despain, Arlovsky, Ryan Spann. He's on a 4-fight win streak. So, no, I'm sorry. That was Acosta. Damn it. I'm getting confused here. Breton Ribeiro. He's 2-2. So he's on a 2-fight win streak. Dair Nurzakai, Kyle Machado were his last 2 fights that he got wins on. So yeah, he hasn't fought the big names like Murzakanov has fought a little more of, but still looking like it should be a pretty good matchup there. So then we get to our last prelim fight. Bruno Silva, 1 of 2, because there's 2 of them with the same name. So you can't get confused. Different weight classes, though. I think the other Bruno Silva's in the middleweight division. This is happening in the flyweight division. Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van should be a good one here. Both these guys pretty quick. And you know, Silva is 4-3 in the UFC, 14-6 overall. Joshua Van 6-1 in the UFC, 13-2 overall. Let's see. Bruno Silva is coming off a loss to Manel Kopp. That was a 3rd round TKO loss for him there. Before that, though, he was on a 4-fight win streak with wins over Cody Durden, Tyson Nam, JP Buys, and Victor Rodriguez. So he's looking to get back in that win column and start building up some more wins like he was on before he suffered that last loss. Joshua Van, 6-1 in the UFC. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Wins over Rai Saruya, Cody Durden, and Edgar Chairez. So yeah, I feel like that should be a good matchup. I mean, Joshua Van's always fun to watch. A lot of action, non-stop action usually with Joshua Van in there. Bruno Silva's there to try to match that energy and hopefully come out with a win on top for him. But no, I don't know. I'm kind of going for Joshua Van on this one. I like his style. I like him as a person. He seems like a cool guy, and you know, he's a damn good fighter. So we'll see how that goes, and that wraps up the prelims. Let's get into these main card fights starting, and I am excited to watch all of these main card fights, because when you start off a main card with a fight like this, Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland, that hypes me up right away. I'm thinking this is going to be a good one. Vicente Luque is fun to watch, and he's got some skills. 16-6 in UFC, a lot of fights for sure. Both these guys have a lot of fights. If you look at their overall records, 23-10 for Luque, 27-13 for Holland. That's a lot of fucking fights. And Luque's got 16-6 in the UFC. Holland is 14-10. So a lot of fights overall, a lot of fights in UFC, a lot of experience going into the cage to start off the main card for UFC 316. But I feel like that's a good way to get started. They both have double-digit wins in the KO TKO column. Pretty similar on the losses there as well. Both have 9 wins by submission as well. Holland only having 2 more losses than Luque in that category as well. And then in decisions, they both have losing records. So neither one of these guys want to go to decision because they don't seem to have good luck there. But I don't think this one's going to go to decision. I mean, a lot of times with both two guys like this, Holland, you never know what you're going to get with him. Sometimes he goes in there and looks like he is just frustrated right away and can't put anything together to get a good, rhythm going. But I mean, we've seen Vicente Luque do a little bit of the same. It's just Holland has a kind of he has a habit of doing that a lot more. He's a very streaky fighter. Like, one second he's looking really good, the next second he's losing fights, and he likes to fight a lot. He likes to stay active, but he has a lot of losses. But he never puts too many losses together in a row. He always gets that one win in there that's like, okay, here he is again. So if you look at his last few fights, he beat Gunnar Nelson in his last fight in March of this year, so a few months ago really. Before that, he lost to, so he's already fought twice this year, because he fought in January and then in March. In the first fight this year, he fought Rainier de Ritter and he lost by rear naked choke on that one in the first round. And then he had a loss to Roman Dolidze as well with that rib injury, which is one of those fights where, that's what I'm talking about. Kevin Holland tends to come in and be kind of like, if he's not feeling it right away, getting in there, I don't know, it just seems like he finds a way out quickly. But it's not that he gives up, he just, something seems to happen and then it's just over. So that's kind of how he is. So if you look at his last few fights, he's got a win, 2 losses, a win, 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, 1 loss. It's a weird way to have, for a record. So he seems to put a couple things together, whether it's losses or wins, and then he turns it around and does the opposite. Weird ways for him there. But Vicente Luque is coming off a win as well, over Themba Gorimbo, which was a pretty impressive win there. That was a quick anaconda choke in the first round, 52 seconds in for Luque there. So he looked really good in that last fight against Themba Gorimbo. Before that, he had lost to Joaquin Buckley by submission. So in 2021, he had a 4-fight, between 21 and 20, he had a 4-fight win streak. But since then, he's gone on a couple losses, a win, another loss, and another win. So a little bit streaky there. So he's looking to put together a couple wins to, get a good streak going and get a big win over somebody with a name like Kevin Holland. So should be a good one to start off the main card. Let's move on to the next one. And yet again, another debut for a UFC fighter. And this is Patchy Mix, who a lot of UFC fans have been waiting to see Patchy Mix come to the UFC. Infinity, what's up? Yeah, so Patchy Mix finally in the UFC. The PFL just couldn't get it together and he couldn't get it together and get this guy a fight and make him happy with his contract. So they had to let him go, and now he's in the UFC, and a lot of people have been waiting for this. Patchy Mix in the UFC, finally he's here. He's still at a good age at 31 years old, 20-1 overall, making his UFC debut. He's on a 7-fight win streak with with wins outside of the UFC. And so, he was a champion in Bellator. So this is definitely a really highly anticipated fight, with Patchy Mix coming in. Mario Bautista is going to be his opponent. That's a tough ass opponent for your UFC debut. He was supposed to be fighting Chito Vera, but Chito got injured, so had to pull out, and that led way for Patchy Mix to jump in. And being that he fights in that weight class, perfect matchup with Mario Bautista. But it's a tough one. And if you're a champion in a different organization, and you're coming in after being the champ, you can afford to get a tough matchup to start your UFC career. It's a good way to get started, especially if you get that win. So Patchy Mix is looking to do that, but Bautista is definitely one of those guys who's a bit, more on the quiet side, but he definitely is talented and is a tough opponent. He's 9-2 in the UFC, 15-2 overall. They both have just a few KO TKO wins, but Patchy Mix has never been stopped by KO or TKO. Never been stopped by submission either, but look at the difference in those categories there for Patchy Mix. He's 2-0 by KO TKO, 13-0 by submission. So definitely good on the ground and dangerous with that kind of a record. He's only got his only losses by decision, 5 wins in that category. And Bautista's only got 1 loss by KO TKO, 1 loss by sub, and has never lost by decision. So pretty interesting there. Pretty good matchup. I mean, 15-2 to 20-1. I mean, pretty similar in that as well. So we're looking at a good matchup here. It's a tough one for Patchy Mix for his UFC debut, considering a lot of, people always take into consideration UFC jitters, and it's a different kind of a walkout, a different kind of a setup, and higher level opponents, most people feel like, as opposed to what was in Bellator, and that's who he fought for before. So Patchy Mix making his UFC debut, and that makes one, 2, 3, 4 UFC debuts on this card. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot considering the kind of card this is. But you know what? It seems like it's a lot of good fighters coming in, making their debut with good matchups. So I feel like it's a good card for guys to debut on. And with the new patch and the tops card and all that, it's a hell of a way to be able to remember your UFC debut. So these guys are pretty lucky coming in with that. So Patchy Mix though versus Mario Bautista should be a good fight. Just excited to see Patchy Mix in the UFC, see what he can do here. He's talking a big game, saying he feels like he's the best bantamweight in the UFC, and that he's gonna go out and show and prove that. And he's hoping to get together a big list of wins to get him to that championship and show that can be a champ in the UFC like he was in Bellator. But Bautista's looking to show him the level of competition he's in for when it comes to the UFC, especially when he was supposed to fight a big name like Chito Vera, and that's a tough fight for Bautista. So but I think he can hold his own. We'll see what Patchy Mix has for him. If he gets to the ground, it's definitely gonna be a better for Mix, but we'll see what he does in his UFC debut. And Bautista's definitely game. So let's move on to the next fight. We got Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. This was supposed to happen in Mexico, and Pyfer, they were all there ready to go, and Pyfer had to drop out because he got sick due to food or water, not sure. But he was not quiet about the fact that he wasn't happy about it, and he basically said he would never go back to that shithole. So a lot of people were upset by that. I understand, I guess, to an extent, because he's excited to fight. He's ready, put in all this work to be able to get this fight, and next thing you know, because of the surroundings, the area, the location, traveling and everything like that, and then he winds up getting sick. But Kelvin Gastelum has Mexican roots, so maybe he's gonna get back for his people. I don't know, man. I'm just talking shit. Joe Pyfer had a lot of shit to talk. He said it was nothing against the people. It's just, in Mexico, a lot of people know you got to be careful. You can get sick. It's not the same there as it is here. So, and he witnessed that firsthand, and he had to go through it, and he couldn't fight. He lost out on money. And he, upset people, disappointed people. It's not his fault, but it happened. So he said he was careful with everything he was doing, water wise, and and food wise and all that. But you got to eat, and maybe that's what did him in. I don't know. But he was not shy about telling us how he couldn't get off the toilet, and that he thought Mexico was a shithole and he'll never go back there to fight. So it is what it is. Kelvin Gastelum, though, 19-9 overall. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say? Yeah, that's right. 13-9 in the UFC. Pyfer's 13-3 overall, 4-1 in the UFC. And you know, he had that loss that people were calling fraud check on and all this other bullshit because, you know, Dana White made a big thing about Joe Pyfer because Pyfer was like living out of his car, you know, all this other stuff just coming up from nothing, and next thing you know, he's like just tearing through the UFC in his first few fights. And you know, that famous quote from Dana White saying "Beat Joe Pyfer," and a lot of people had something to say when he suffered his first loss, which, you know, it's gonna happen. Trying to keep that undefeated record is never a fun thing, but it is what it is. But Joe Pyfer's definitely a tough guy, fucking heavy hands. He can definitely bang with the best of them. And Kelvin Gastelum, though, has a damn good chin. It may not look like he's the best fighter in the world with his physique and the way that he fights, but the thing is, he can take a shot, and he's never been stopped by on the feet. Never been stopped by KO, TKO. Has 5 wins there. 5 wins by sub, but he's lost 3 times by submission, and then he's 8-6 by decision. He is coming off a win, and Pyfer as well only has 1 loss in all of those categories. 4-1 in the UFC, 9-1 by KO, TKO, 3-1 by sub, and 1-1 by decision. He is also coming off a win. So let's take a look at Kelvin Gastelum. He's coming off a win over D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. That was back in June of last year. Before that, he lost to Sean Brady. He's kind of had a win-loss type deal going on. You know, he had a rough streak between 2019 and 2021, where out of 6 fights, he was 1-5. But he fought big names like Israel Adesanya, Darren Till, Jack Hermanson, Robert Whittaker, Jared Cannonier. Lost to all of them. Had 1 win in the middle of all that to Ian Heinisch. But if you remember that Israel Adesanya fight that started that big losing streak for him, that was a hell of a war. That's what showed you how good Kelvin Gastelum's chin is and how durable he is and how strong and tough he is to be able to get through all that beatdown that he took from Izzy, while also handing out a beatdown of his own. Him and Izzy went at it in that fight. It was, you know, memorable, historic. A lot of people called that one of the best fights ever. So, but yeah, he suffered a lot of losses after all that, and had some canceled bouts in between there. But now he's coming off a win over D-Rod. It was a unanimous decision win for him there. He hasn't got a finish win since 2017 from this picture right here over Michael Bisping, where he won in the first round by TKO. So it's been a long time since he's got a finish, but if he goes toe-to-toe with Joe Pyfer and he comes out on top, that's gonna be how he wins. Because I don't see this going to the ground unless he just happens to knock him down and jump on him to get a submission. But you know, that's not really what we see a lot of out of him, so who knows. Let's take a look at Joe Pyfer, who wins most of his fights on the feet. Heavy hands, like I said. He's coming off a win over Marc-Andre Barrio with the TKO win there in the first round back in June of 24 as well. His loss that I was talking about, people calling fraud check on, was to Jack Hermanson. It was a unanimous decision loss. He just looked a little off that night. I don't think it was anything crazy. I think people were over dramatic about that. It's kind of annoying. But he has wins over Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Gerald Mearshart. Oh, I'm sorry, that was grappling. Also Gerald Mearshart in the UFC. And then Ellen Amadevsky as well. So all of his fights except for the last one. Oh no, all of his fights have been that he's won have been by finish. So and only his loss has been by decision. So yeah, like I said, action coming from Joe Pyfer, and I'm sure he's looking at, what up, fool? How you doing? Thanks for jumping in. But yeah, Joe Pyfer looking to definitely show that he is not a fraud, because I'm sure he doesn't give a shit about that, but I'm sure he's got something to prove after that bullshit that happened in Mexico for him, not being able to fight. He definitely wants to come out and be impressive and show what he's made of after talking all that shit. But I'm sure it's more about, being disappointed in the fact that, he didn't get to fight and all because of something stupid like, just the stomach issue and stuff like that, where a lot of people seem to get sick in that time, but he could not fight. So unfortunate for him, but I feel like that's going to be a good fight. Definitely one to sit down and watch all the way through. I feel like that's how all these fights on this main card are, and I'm excited for all of them. So starting from the beginning, Luque and Holland, Mix and Bautista, now Pfeiffer and Gastelum, and that leads us into the co-main event for the first title on the line for the night. Bantamweight championship bout. We got Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. Juliana Pena, she's beat the GOAT of the women, Amanda Nunes, and I know other people have beat her too, but Juliana Pena beat her when she was on top, and that was damn impressive. That's how she became the champ the first time. And she's looking, she finally got the belt back after some injuries and some setbacks and stuff like that. And then she fights Tisha Pennington, winds up getting the belt back, and now she's the champ again, looking to defend against Kayla Harrison, who has only had a couple fights in the UFC, and is now fighting for a championship. But yeah, she's 2-0 in the UFC, and on her third fight she's fighting for a championship, but she was the PFL champ, and definitely one of those people that we were like, hey, what would she do against the girls in the UFC? And now we kind of have an idea. She fought Holly Holm, beat her by submission in her first fight, and then fought Ketlin Vieira. Had a little bit of trouble there, but still came out with the win. So Juliana Pena is walking around talking shit about how there's no way Kayla Harrison's not on the fucking roids. PFL crossover, bro. Yeah, Patchy and her. I know, that's what I'm saying. Fucking, even though Patchy, I don't think Patchy fought actually under the PFL banner ever, but still he was a part of it because of all that. Kayla gonna give her a knuckle biscuit? Kayla's the gigantic favorite, dude. I think she's like a plus 600 or plus 800 favorite right now or some shit. Hey, is she a monster and not natural? I don't know. According to what I've been hearing lately, she got tested like 4 times in a month. She's been tested a bunch of times since she's been in the UFC, and nothing's come up. That doesn't mean a whole lot, we know how it goes, but still she has the proof that she's been tested and has not dropped dirty. But she is fucking huge. She was fighting in the 155 division and in the PFL, so she's big. Fu said USADA gone true. They still have testing though, but nobody really knows how this testing is. We haven't heard much about testing at all recently, so maybe Pena's on to something. Maybe she knows something we don't know. But Trump in office, what is life? Seen her off season, she white as your shoulders. She fucking is, bro. She's like gigantic. It's scary as fuck to see her drop down to 135. Fuck. I don't even know how she gets there. And I read an article the other day or earlier today about how like her coaches are wondering like how long can she keep this up, fighting in the 135 division. But the problem with the UFC is they don't have any higher divisions. 145 has never officially been wiped out. They've never officially said that it's gone. But obviously, since Nunes, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Damn it, I don't have that drop right now. Otherwise, I'd play it. But 145 should be a thing. It definitely should be. Ketlin Vieira could move up to 145. Fucking, there's a few girls out there that could, and I feel like if the division was there, we'd probably have some more people coming in and jumping into that. But I don't know, man. After Nunes left, it was over basically. Nunes was the double champ, and it's just that's how it ended. So he walks around close to 180. Yeah, girl with a gut. Oh yeah, Ketlin Vieira, definitely. She didn't look good in that last fight, but she is fucking huge. So, but yeah, so this should be a good matchup. Boo and Infinity are just fucking making me laugh right now in the chat. But yeah, it's like Pena. The one thing Pena has on her is a big fucking mouth. I kind of can't stand it. Sometimes she's like the female fucking. I've heard this before, and I was saying it before I even heard it. Was she's like Triple C fucking, what the fuck's his name? God damn it. Why did I just forget? Henry Cejudo. She talks shit like Henry Cejudo talks shit, and it's kind of annoying. But you can't help but to give her guts on. Give her guts. I read gut on there. Give her props on her talent. Yeah, food. That's what I'm saying. Henry Cejudo. Yeah, I mean, she's got the belt right now, and she beat Tisha Pennington for it, and she's beaten Nunez in the past as well. So I mean, you got to give her some props. She's coming from the Ultimate Fighter, you know, she had that kind of beef with Ronda, so she always wanted to fight Ronda, but Ronda left, so that's never gonna happen. But yeah, she's 3-1 by KO TKO, 4-2 by sub, and 4-2 by decision, coming off a win obviously where she won the belt. And then Kayla's undefeated in the UFC and only has one loss in her entire career. That was by decision. She's 7-0 by sub, 8-0 by KO TKO, and on that 2-fight win streak in the UFC. Cejudo being named Henry is wild. Exactly. Conor Pena. She doesn't have shit talk like Conor does though. Conor, at least you could be like, damn, that was a good one when he says some shit sometimes. Every time Pena says shit, it's like, shut the fuck up. I can't stand it. But that's just me. I don't know. I just don't like her like that. She's just cringe. That's all. I don't know. But she's coming off that win to Raquel Pennington. I was saying Tisha Pennington, wasn't I? I just realized that. That's her fucking wife. I meant Raquel Pennington. Now that they're both named Pennington, it fucking throws me off. And we just saw Tisha fight a few weeks ago. But yeah, she had the win over Raquel. Before that, she lost to Nunez, where she lost the belt in that automatic rematch that they had after she beat Nunez for the belt. So, you know, she's been on this just championship run, whether winning or losing. That's what she's been doing since 2021, is fighting championship fights. So she definitely has that experience and is comfortable there. So we'll see if she, you know, puts that wrestling to work, puts that striking to work, and how she's going to handle the big ass woman that Kayla Harrison is, with the pressure that Kayla puts on people and the heavy hands that she has on her. We know, we've seen her stop people in the PFL, and if she's not stopping you, she's definitely hurting you, getting you down, and getting some ground and pound on you. So, but we've seen the striking of Pena as well. You can see these punches landed on Nunez when she beat her, as well as Tisha Pennington. I'm sorry, I said it again. Fucking Raquel Pennington. I looked at her and still said Tisha. Raquel Pennington. When she won the belt off her in her last fight. It's a great crossover fight. Yeah, I feel like this is what we were waiting for when it came to Kayla, especially with the kind of animosity they have between each other. So, but Kayla definitely has those ground skills. She kicks a lot. If she gets you to the ground, she's definitely gonna fucking throw lots of punches down there. She puts on the pressure, and she tries to get you into deep waters when you're on the ground. And she has that fucking world-class judo, so she'll throw your ass too. This is her taking down Ketlin Vieira. You know, that judo is tricky, and she's an Olympic judoka, so she won the gold there. And she boasts about the fact that she won the gold, and Ronda could only win the bronze or something like that. So she definitely didn't win gold like Kayla did. And Kayla just has that crazy long. She's been doing it since she was like 12, being in judo and testing in the testing pool for the Olympics and all this other shit. So yeah, this is going to be a fun one. And I feel like it's definitely the best fight that you could put on with the women in the bantamweight division right now. Of course, it'll always be good to see someone like Kayla Harrison get the belt. Juliana Pena seems to be holding it up well right now, but I don't hear so much hype around her like I do about Kayla, and Kayla doesn't even have the belt. So some people were not impressed with her last win over Ketlen Vieira. She did get tested a little bit. She got touched up a little bit, had a cut in the nose, and she was bleeding, and she looked a little winded at the end of the fight, but still got the win regardless over Ketlen Vieira. And most people were just talking shit about the fact that she definitely should have had more trouble with Holly Holm than she did Vieira, but it didn't turn out that way. So we'll see what she does in this fight. She's fired up. She's ready to go. But is she going to make weight? Because she has to make that 135 pounds on the dot. There is no 1 pound leeway like there is in regular fights. It's championship bout. You have to make the weight 135 on the dot, nothing more. So we'll see if she has any trouble with that. She seems to be pretty confident about that fact. Juliana Pena has made that weight plenty of times because, like I said, in the past few years, she's done nothing but fight championship fights. So the only other thing with Kayla Harrison is that she's never gone 5 rounds in the UFC. She's done it in the PFL, obviously, but she's never done it in the UFC. So we'll see if she holds up, because, you know, the difference between her fighting in the PFL and the UFC is that she was fighting at a lot higher weight in the PFL than she is in the UFC now. So being down at 135, going full 5 rounds, which a lot of Pena's fights go the full amount, that's something to look out for and something to be worried about if you are betting on Kayla Harrison. So, but at the same time, she's known for being able to go the distance and get the wins regardless of not getting a finish. But again, that was at a higher weight, and so that weight is the factor. So the first battle is to make that weight 135, nothing more. And then after that, the next thing will be rehydration, and then getting out there and going the distance. Patty versus Hoofy should happen. Yeah, I think that's a damn good fight, actually. I don't know if Patty can hang with Mauricio Rufy, but that would be a good fight. I mean, Patty seems to be getting better and better, for sure. So I think that would be a good fight. Zark81 was saying Patty versus Rufy should happen. That's what I was talking about that. But yeah, Infinity thinks that Kayla Harrison will gas out, and with that weight cut, it's a good possibility. So we'll see what happens. That's a co-main event for the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship. Let's move on to the main event, and it's a good one, but it is a rematch, and it is for the Men's Bantamweight Championship. Merab Dvalishvili, the current undisputed champ, versus Suga Sean O'Malley. Coming back, trying to get his belt back. Hasn't fought since he lost the belt to Merab. Merab has defended once. Buckley versus Brady for the first contender. Oh, number 1 contender at welterweight. Yeah, it's a good call too. I think Buckley's definitely proved that he's up there, and would be a good matchup for Brady for sure. But I feel like Brady's a beast on the feet, man. And I feel like if he lands on Buckley's one of those guys that I feel like can't take too much of that. So was Jose Aldo a legit BJJ Black? Oh yeah, dude, Aldo's a fucking legend. He's the king of Rio for a reason. So Aldo's definitely legit everywhere. He was a legit striker, legit black belt, and yeah, the king of Rio. He was on that long run of defending his championship for a reason, until he met Conor, and then it was just time. You know, he was on that long run. He met Conor, he rushed it, he was emotional, and then he just wasn't the same. And I'll have to give Conor that credit for changing the GOAT at the time into somebody who, you know, didn't live up to that anymore. But I think it was just his time. It was that every fighter gets to that point where if they're not done, they're going to deteriorate a little bit. He didn't go too far down the ladder, but he definitely went down a bit. So can Ignacio Bahamondes beat Gaethje? It's a possibility, but I don't know. A lot of people can't fight the kind of fight that Gaethje fights. So I don't know that we've seen Bahamondes get into fights that are similar, but nothing like Gaethje has ever been in. Gaethje gets into crazy wars. It's hard as shit to stop him, even though he got knocked out by Holloway. That was crazy. And yeah, that probably didn't even need to happen, but it happened, and he's down to do it. So maybe if he walks into something like that again, yeah, he could lose, but I don't know if Bahamondes can hang with somebody like Gaethje. RDR is so skillful, motherfucker could beat Pereira at light heavyweight. I mean, he's definitely skillful. I just don't know about that. But he's definitely one of those guys to look out for, and I think we're gonna see him doing big things. But you know, all of these guys, all these fighters that come from other organizations, you're always wondering, yeah, he was a 2-division champ over there, but has he really fought the type of fighters that are over at the UFC, the elite of the elite, basically? So that's something that you have to pay attention to. RDR is one of those ones we just have to wait and see and watch, because he's fun to watch fight and he does some shit, you know, that is impressive. So you kind of just have to wait and see. So I feel like it's hard to know right off the bat with RDR, but there's a lot of hype around him. How would Fluffy versus Kyle go? Ooh, that's a good one. I don't think you can. We've seen Fluffy get hurt and we've seen him struggle. We haven't really seen Kyle struggle like that. Not the way we've seen Fluffy struggle. So I feel like that would probably narrowly go to Kyle for sure. Those fighting nerds, man, they're on a roll right now, and I don't know, it's going to be hard to stop them. I know that, you know, Silva just got his first loss or whatever, but it's tough. That's a tough one. Can Hamza give trouble to Ankalaev at 205? I really don't know, and I don't care. I'm waiting to see what happens between him and Trickus, DDP. He's got to get past that first, and I'm not sure he's gonna get past that. So that one's a tough one. I wouldn't even talk about that one until I see what happens with DDP. I would say more, can DDP give Ankalaev trouble at 205? That's more of a question, and I would say fuck yeah. I think DDP's way more well-rounded than Ankalaev. Jean Silva versus Volkanovski should happen. Yeah. But I mean, Silva just got his first loss. He still needs to get in there and get big wins against a higher level of opponents. I mean, you know, he's fought a couple, but I mean, he hasn't fought that many fights. So I feel like he needs to get a little more in there before he gets a fight against Volk, somebody like Volk. Holloway versus Hooker for BMF and Max retirement in Hawaii. Well, again, though, Max has to get through Dustin Poirier. So Poirier's retiring after that fight. But who knows what happens if he beats Max. And that's a tough fight for Max still. So I wouldn't go too far with that one. We'll see what happens first with Poirier and Holloway. But getting to this main event, Merab versus Sean. You know, we got Merab, who is just a marauder. He goes forward. He keeps going forward. He doesn't gas out. His nickname's the Machine for a fucking reason. And Sean just had a lot of bad luck in that last fight. Coming in with an injury, even though he doesn't want to, you know, use that as an excuse or whatever, but coming in with an injury, and, you know, it is what it is. He didn't look like himself. His takedown defense wasn't great. And he just, you know, he just didn't look like himself, and he didn't look like he knew what to do with Merab, with all those takedown attempts, all the takedowns, and the way that Merab fights. But the thing you got to remember is that Sean won that last round. He won the 5th round. You can see it how you want to see it, but he did some damage in that last round, and that says something for Sean to have to go all 5 rounds with Merab, but still come up at on top at the end. At least in that round, that says something. So that's what kind of gives me pause with this fight against Merab this time, if he's really 100%. Leon Edwards versus the Ecuadorian dude for Leon's last fight. Oh man, I'm a Braves fan through and through regardless, Ryan. So I win or lose, man, I wear it no matter what. Sucks when they have bad seasons, but I'm a Braves fan no matter what, and I wear Braves hats all the fucking time. So to your answer, I know you said just kidding, but I mean, I hear what you're saying 100%. It hurts. And I didn't even watch today, but I can just imagine. I'm actually kind of a bad fan. I don't watch all the time. I just kind of watch for highlights or scores. But I'm a Braves fan no matter what. I have been for a long fucking time. So they're my hat of choice. I either wear them or my football team. My football team's not great either. I'm a Colts fan. But yeah, it is what it is. I represent no matter what. So yeah. Diego Lopez would do crazy at BKFC. Yeah, I think that, yeah. I mean, yeah. He's got a lot to do in MMA though, so let's not push that one. UFC should hold an event in Germany rather than France and should be headlined by Abus versus Islam. Okay. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so back to the main event here. Bantamweight championship bout with Sean O'Malley and Merab. Again, like I said, Sean won that fifth round, so you got to watch out for that. But this is definitely gonna be a tough one for him to come back and try to get his belt. Merab has already defended once against Abus against Usman. Umar. What the fuck was his name? Now I'm reading too many names here, and I'll just look. Umar. Thank you, Umar. Yeah, Usman is the one that was in Bellator. So yes, Umar Nurmagomedov got the unanimous decision win there in January of this year. So he's defended once already in between, while Sean O'Malley's been nursing that injury. Merab versus Patchy Mix, they could make this happen. Well, yeah, but Patchy needs to get through his first fight and then get a couple more under his belt. Maybe only one more. If he gets a big win in this first fight, you've been on a 6-fight losing streak, bro. Are you waiting for the Perth card? Who are we talking about? Yeah, no. I mean, look at Kayla. She's a former champion in a other organization, and she's coming in and getting a championship fight in her second fight in the UFC. So, and you know, her last one wasn't that crazy, but I mean, that division is also not that deep. So you never know. Patchy Mix could get the title fight. But yeah, so Merab has been looking like bam. Are you just talking shit now? I answer all your questions and now you're talking shit. I mean, I'm talking shit like bam. I mean, yeah, a lot. I've heard that before. I look like Tai Tuivasa. I get it. That's actually not an insult because Ty's dope. I love Tai Tuivasa, so it is what it is. But yeah, so we're looking at Merab. He's already defended once while Sean O'Malley was getting better from that injury, and you know, now he's looking to defend again against the former champ, the guy he took the belt from, and to keep going. And he wants to defend his belt like 4 times this year, he says, or 4 times in a year. That sounds kind of crazy, but if he gets through Sean in this one, he has a good chance. He's on a 12-fight winning streak, so you can't really put much past him. You know, he stumbled a little bit in the beginning of his career in the UFC, and then just put together a huge win streak to be able to get the title fight. And with all of the, you know, obstacles in the way with his friend and training partner Aljamain Sterling being the champ for a while, and them not wanting to fight each other, when he finally lost a belt, then Merab made his move and gets the belt. So man, Zark is just going off in the chat. Pavlovich versus Gane for the fight night in France. I mean, sure. Pantoja's the guy no one gives an F if he wins one more time. Yeah, it's hard to really care about Pantoja. I don't know. It's the lighter weights, plus he's not the most exciting person. His fights are good. They're always a war, but yeah, it's a division and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, Merab's got those takedown skills, the pressure. Oh shit. But I mean, he has some strikes too, as you can see here. He landed some stuff against Sean in that last fight. But you know, Sean wasn't himself, so maybe this time he might not, be able to land on him that way. But I feel like Sean doesn't want to give that any play, saying that it's an excuse or anything like that. But he did have the injury, so it's tough. We'll see how he comes out. And Sean's just locked in right now. So Merab, though, with those takedowns, with the, he'll get you down one way or the other. He'll throw some. Sean got a puncher's chance. He definitely does. And that's the thing. because Sean's got the striking, and we've seen him knock people out with one punch before. But Merab is just a machine, man. That's why that's his nickname. Who said, I'll take that chance? Yeah. And Merab's one of those guys where I feel like he's gonna have to get caught by surprise, and I don't think he's taking Sean lightly whatsoever. But I'll take that one punch from Ngannou, at least get it over with. 25 minutes with Topuria in the cage, that sounds like fucking total nightmare. So I don't want any part of that. I'll take one punch and take my chances of not dying. So but yeah, I mean, Merab has a little bit of striking. It's not the best though. His strength, of course, is that forward pressure, the takedown threats all the time, as well as, you know, just having that cardio that doesn't quit. So, but then we get into Suga Sean, and like MMA Fu said, you know, he's got that puncher's chance. We saw what he did against Cheeto in the rematch. As you can see here with these pictures, that knee was fucking nasty, but it goes to show how tough Cheeto is. He took all this punishment and was still in there trading with Suga. But, you know, Sean was definitely a worthy champ. I mean, that's why he took the belt from Aljo and defended it and stuff. And then, you know, then he meets Merab, and, you know, he lands these kicks up the middle that hurt people, and that's what hurt Merab in that fifth round. And, you know, no one was sure if Merab was actually hurt or not, but yeah, he said in an interview recently that he was definitely hurt, and that he didn't expect that, and he was caught off guard, and that was a nasty little teep kick from Suga Sean. So that's something you definitely got to watch out for, because he can hurt you with those kicks to the midsection, as he did with Eljo and Merab. Is Jorge Masvidal coming back soon? I don't know. Isn't Bear from the Jackson podcast annoying as fuck? He is. I just started listening to a couple of those episodes, and he is pretty fucking annoying, honestly. I prefer Rampage to just talk a little more, because he's funny, at least. But yeah, Bear's a little bit annoying. But anyway, so yeah, Sean's looking to get his belt back. Like I said, he won that fifth round in the last fight. So is he gonna continue from there? Maybe he learned some shit there. But I mean, Merab's still been fighting, defended once already, had a great performance against Umar, somebody who a lot of people thought would give him a harder fight than he did. So regardless of the injuries, it seems like everybody keeps coming in with an injury against Merab. I think Merab still has what it takes to get the win, but I can't lie. I gotta say that I think I have this like slight feeling that Sean is so locked in right now. He quit smoking weed, which we know that's what he does all the time. He says I haven't been jerking off, and he hasn't been drinking. He hasn't been doing anything. He quit social media. He hasn't even put out new merch, which he would do for every single fucking fight in the past. So he is locked in. He's ready to go. He's taking it seriously. His gym where he works out at home and stuff, he's got set up like he did a whole entrance thing, as if he was in the arena. So he's locked in, man, and he's being taking this 100% seriously and wants his belt back. So, and he just had another kid. So he's got a lot to fight for, and he's ready to go. So this one is tough for me, and if I was gonna bet, I'm not sure I'd bet on this fight, because I don't even know where it's gonna go. But I feel like it's gonna be a tough one to call. So that's why I don't make fight picks. I let the fight wheel do that. So let's move into that right now, because I suck at fight picks. And I know this is like fucking the easy way out, but I leave it up to chance, and I do the fight wheel. And if I can find, oh, that's because I'm on the wrong thing. Here we go. So let's get the fight wheel going. And last week it didn't do so well, but we won't even talk about that, and that's because those fights were all off anyway, so who gives a shit? So let's see what the fight wheel has for us this week, as far as all these pretty damn good fights, I feel like, especially this main card. And I just do the fight picks for the main card. So let's get the wheel going and see what our first fight pick is according to the fight wheel. And it starts off with the debut of Patchy Mix getting the win over Mario Batista. So Mix making his UFC debut, getting a win according to the fight wheel. So there's that one. Let me take off this other name real fast, and we'll spin again to see what our next fight pick is from the fight wheel. Here we go. Next pick, Joe Pyfer getting the win over Kelvin Gastelum. I feel like that's what a lot of people are thinking is going to happen, but again, Gastelum is tougher than nails, and fucking he can get hit and he can stay in there and keep the war going. So Pyfer's got heavy hands and is used to stopping people on the feet, and we'll just see what kind of shape Kelvin Gastelum is in, because a lot of times his biggest fight is with the weight cut. So we'll see what happens with that one. Moving on to the next one. So far 2 fights out of the way, 3 to go. Let's see what the fight wheel has for us. Ooh, first fight of the night, Kevin Holland getting the win over Vicente Luque. I could definitely see that one happening, just because of how streaky both these guys are, and the fact that Kevin Holland comes out there and does work sometimes, and you're just like, where did that even come from? But you know, Luque's game 2, so it's a possibility for sure. All right, and in true fashion, we got the co-main and main event left. Let's see which one it gives us first. Co-main event, Juliana Pena defending her title against Kayla Harrison, handing Harrison her first loss in the UFC according to the fight wheel. This one's a toss-up. Kayla Harrison is a gigantic favorite right now to win, and which is crazy considering, you know, Pena has beat Nunes in the past. She's the current champ, but yet she's a heavy underdog to Kayla Harrison. So let's see what the fight wheel has for the main event, the men's bantamweight championship, and it looks like Sean O'Malley. So it looks like the belt's gonna change hands in at least one of these fights according to the fight wheel. And I write them all down on this so I can remember the next time. That's what I'm doing. So the fight wheel thinks Sean O'Malley is going to take his belt back and stop Merab's 12-fight win streak. And it's a possibility for sure, but we'll see what happens. What? MMA Food said Joe. I don't know what you're trying to say by that one. But yeah, so that's it. Fight wheel has made its predictions. Patchy Mix to win his debut. Joe Pyfer. Oh, Joe Pyfer. Got you. Pyfer to get the win over Gastelum. Holland to get the win over Luque. Pena to defend her championship, and then O'Malley to get his belt back. So, yeah. That's the fight wheel predictions, and that wraps it up for me. And that's it for this week. So I'm excited for UFC 316. We're having the Watch Party podcast happening as soon as the main card goes live, we will go live here on this channel. So come back and check it out on Saturday, 7 p.m. Arizona time. That main card goes live, we go live, and we'll be here talking a bunch of shit, reacting to all the fights in live time. And I can't show the fights, obviously, but yeah, we can definitely have some fun. Don't listen to the boring ass broadcast. Listen to us. We're gonna be laughing and joking, having a good time, having some drinks, doing some smelling salts, and just having a good time reacting to all the fights. So come back on Saturday and check that out, and then come back on Sunday for the recap of UFC 316. That's it for me. Appreciate all of you in the chat. MMA Full Infinity. Zark81 was on a roll, and Ryan came in talking shit about my baseball team, but that's all good. Clark losing money more than likely. But yeah, so come back for the watch party Saturday. Come back for the recap show on Sunday. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace. Oh shit, if I know how to push the button right. Here we go. Later.